This is a story about money, mismanagement, and every New Yorker's favorite thing to dislike, the transit system.
This is The Breakdown from Inside Edition Digital. We're sharing the story behind the story.
Hi, my name is Sal Bono, and I'm the host, producer, and writer of New York Gritty for Inside Edition Digital. The story of the Mta Heist is something that every New Yorker should know about, but doesn't, and every New Yorker of every generation should know about, but kind of doesn't. And that's what's kind of amazing about the whole thing. In the summer of 1979, $600,000 went missing from the Transit Authority headquarters in J Street, which is in downtown Brooklyn. So I first heard about this case in the summer of 2019. For about 2 weeks straight, and I'm not even exaggerating, I was late for work every day because of the MTA. Because of the subway system. I would leave my house earlier and earlier and earlier to get on the subway to go into our office in Manhattan. I was either 15 minutes late, 30 minutes late, 45 minutes late, 20 minutes late, and it was getting aggravating. So after about 2 weeks, I sort of had enough of it and was just like, there's got to be a crime that occurred on the MTA. Like I just started Googling MTA crimes. I was so angry with being late for work all the time. I want to know stories about how they lost money. I said, no, I want to know if there was like a good heist that occurred at the MTA. This was one of them that when I first heard about it, I said $600,000 went missing in 79. That's insane to me. And then I couldn't find a lot of pieces on it. The Daily News had one big piece on it. And then I started peeling back some of the research. And I thought, well, this is kind of cool. This is a really cool under the radar crime. And it felt, as I was doing my research, it felt like a movie. It felt like something that you would see the Danny Ocean crew try and do in an Ocean's 11 movie.
Exactly.
When people first hear about this crime, immediately they go, oh, it's like Money Train, that Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes movie. It's like that. Sadly, it's not really like that. There was an actual money train the New York City Transit Authority had. It went around to every single station. It was actually the only efficient thing about the Transit Authority, was that they had a train that went to every single station in all the boroughs, collected all of the coins, all of the dollar bills, every, note that you can think of at the time, checks, and brought them into this, the Transit Authority headquarters in J Street and Willoughby in downtown Brooklyn. They would unload the train, put the money on an elevator, and then that elevator would go right directly into the money room, and then they'd count it, and it would go into the vault. Let's look a little bit more at this New York Gritty piece.
There was no greater symbol of the mess in the rotten Big Apple than the decaying subway system.
Cars were breaking down constantly, so trains were short, trains were canceled. Graffiti was rampant on the train, and it's symbolic that the system was out of control. Maintenance was deferred, not just the trains, the stations. The system was just in horrible shape.
370 J Street is an ugly 13-story limestone building. It is truly institutional ugly. Inside, people hated to work there. There were 2,500 people who worked there for the MTA and the PA. The city, at the beginning of the 20th century, used to collect its receipts from the trains at all 472 stations and bring it to 370 J Street at Willoughby. The trains used to stop, would be unloaded at 370. You walk through a long tunnel, up a few stairs, and you're on the second floor near the money room. The money room was guarded by 2 guards. Of course, they had a desk where you had to get past. You had 2 supervisors in the money room at all time. Each one had half of the code to the safes.
Huge amounts of money going through that room. Take a day when there are 4 million riders. That's $2 million in revenue coming in every day from the subways alone. A lot of that money came in coins or small bills as the fare rate. A lot of this stuff had to be counted and bagged and then shipped to the bank. That's why you had this whole big money room.
This was the most heavily guarded room in America. It had a dedicated train, a money train that drove right into the building. The money was put with armed guards on an elevator up just 1 floor, airtight, like the highest security you could imagine. And the money train ran until 2006 when they transitioned to MetroCards. It was a very simple and well thought out scheme. It had very little exposure to the public. And it worked, until this.
The irony in all of this, the only thing that worked for them was how to get the money.
Yep.
So at the end of July 1979, when over $500,000 went missing from a government agency that was constantly begging for money, it shockingly didn't enrage people the way one would imagine.
These people were trying to do their day's work. On a Friday, they came in, they locked away the receipts of the day, usually 1.8, 1.9 million. On Monday, the same two guards come back and they find they're missing 600,000 in 60 bricks of $10 bills, altogether 120 pounds. And they leave in the safe 1.1 million of other denominations, $1 bills, tokens, $20 bills, $50 bills, but they take the $10 bills.
I'm sure it happened pretty fast. These guys obviously were insiders, or they had total inside knowledge. They knew exactly what they had to do, how they had to get the stuff, how to take it out in those bags. I think it was like an in and out job. Nobody was the wiser until Monday morning when these two money room guys showed up and said, well, wait a minute, there's a big hole over here where we had a stack of tens, So.
They didn't make much of a fuss about it. And because New York City at the time was so violent and so volatile, the New Yorkers didn't really make much of a fuss about it either. So it sort of goes under the rug and under the radar in terms of crimes and things that occur in that era. I think the best way to learn about New York is through the worst parts of New York, and that is the crime. And you see and you meet some amazing people. So I talked to a bunch of classic New Yorkers, the kind of New Yorkers that you love when you hear their voices. I spoke to Andrew Sparberg, who is an MTA historian, Richard Edmonds, who is a journalist for the New York Daily News and was really the main reporter on this story. And I also spoke to George Arts, who is former Mayor Ed Koch's press secretary. And George is by far and large one of my favorite New Yorkers ever. Part of my conversation with George hit the cutting room floor. I really wanted this in, but I'm very happy to share this really cool exchange that I had with him.
You watch a lot of TV movies, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, in the TV movie, the first thing they look is if the guy had a change of lifestyle, if the guy bought a Cadillac, if the guy is suddenly passing around money for women he's picking up. In this case, they watched these 10 guys and there was no change of lifestyle.
Very smart criminals.
And they looked at their bank accounts. Nothing was in their bank accounts.
Wow. You know, what's also, this is the antithesis of the famous scene in Goodfellas, where after they rob Lufthansa, the Lufthansa heist, all the mafioso guys are buying Cadillacs, buying their wives' mink coats, and then there's Robert De Niro's character screaming at everybody.
Are you stupid or what? Did you hear what I said? Don't buy anything, don't get anything.
Insanely smart criminals for the fact that they weren't too greedy. They kept a low profile. They managed to go under the radar. May have been people of interest or a person of interest, but again, not enough to get arrested. Would you consider this the perfect crime from a criminal point of view?
This was the perfect crime. They got away with it. Everyone was too embarrassed to talk about it. They wanted it to go away, and the city wasn't hurt because they were insured.
Over 40 years later, this crime has never been solved. So these criminals were not greedy, but very smart and knew exactly what to do, exactly how to hit it. In essence, it is the perfect crime. I am not condoning this at all. I want to just make that very clear. I'm not condoning this, but it is 100% the perfect crime. Every New Yorker of every generation should know this story. I say this because every New Yorker of every generation has had a gripe with the Transit Authority or the MTA or whatever it's called, because nothing's efficient. Nothing runs on time. The same issues that plagued them in 1979 are the same issues that we're hearing of in 2021. Prior to the pandemic, and when I was riding the subway regularly, every day, multiple times a day, my least favorite train would have certainly been the A train. I know it's a song, Take the A Train. I know it's a classic jingle. Don't. Why? It's never on time. It never goes anywhere. It's always stuck somewhere. And why is it always stuck? Because it goes through every major tourist spot. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the ride of the MTA heist, and we'll see you next time.
This is Inside Edition Digital.